All right, so I went and saw The Batman, and it is The Batman, let me tell you. This movie definitely has a unique style for superhero movies, and one that I don't think has ever been brought to superhero movies. First off, the world building is very good in this movie. You feel like Gotham is made into a character while you're watching the movie. Everything from cobblestone streets to old-timey street lamps to the police station to the hospital to even the Iceberg Lounge, which is Penguin's Club, or Club Penguin, that's what it is, makes a very unique tone for where this movie is taking place, because setting in a movie is very good. For example, the Dark Knight trilogy, that just feels like you're in Chicago. Like, there's nothing going on there. It's just Chicago. In The Batman, you feel like you're in New York, Chicago, Detroit, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, but just crime. All of them combined, and just crime everywhere. And the rent's cheap, so let's go live there. It'll be a cool theme park. Also, it's raining the entire time in the movie, and I don't know why, but I like the rain. Keep the rain. Just have it rain the entire time. Also, the cinematography really helps out with the world building. There are barely any shots that I think are in this movie. They are all top-notch, and that's mostly because of Greg Fraser. Greg Fraser is the cinematographer for this movie, and he has done Dune and Mandalorian, and when I found out he was going to be working on this movie, I was pretty hyped. Because Dune is a perfect movie. You can't touch Dune. Also, the colors in this movie are very good. All these warm oranges and vibrant big reds really bring this movie together a lot, and red is the main color. You're gonna see a lot of red in this movie. Also, the soundtrack is incredible as well. The Batman theme feels like Imperial March. Yes, I'm comparing Batman to Darth Vader, but it kind of makes sense if you think about it. Just compare this scene to this scene in The Batman. Very similar in their introductions to their character. Batman's slow and precise footsteps are very, very similar to Darth Vader's slow breathing in this shot from Rogue One. And of course, Batman doesn't have a lightsaber. He just has bulletproof armor. Also, during Batman's monologue during the first opening scene that we get introduced to Batman, the music swells and it feels like there is fear in these criminals that are going out and doing crimes. And his monologue about the shadows and being the shadows is that, all I can say is that's a banger tweet. He should tweet that out sometime. The cast is also pretty good. I would make some changes though. Hey, editor Andrew here. I just noticed that I brought up that I had problems with some of the cast, but I never really said anything. So I'm gonna say my problems now, just here, because I saw that I didn't. There's only one problem I have with the cast, and it is the person who plays Falcone. And the person who plays Falcone is John Turturro. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. Falcone in this movie doesn't feel that threatening, but the only other thing I've seen John in is the Transformers movies, and that's probably not fair to judge him on because of the Transformers movies. But anyway, he never really felt that threatening. I never really got a grasp of his political power that he had up until like the very end of him being in the movie. Also, there's a scene where Falcone fights Catwoman, and it's just very weird because this is an old man. Catwoman could easily beat him, but for some reason she just can't get the upper hand on him. I don't know. It's weird. That might just be a problem with me. I'm probably going to go see this movie again. So I might make an update video on my thoughts on Captain America, Falcon, Winter Soldier. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's my only problem with the cast. Other than that, it's pretty good. Robert Pattinson is very good as Batman. Not so much Bruce Wayne, but that's kind of the point. Bruce Wayne in this movie isn't really there. Bruce Wayne is very much a character that doesn't really exist to himself. It does feel like the Batman is the only persona he has left. He doesn't keep up with the public persona of Bruce Wayne, and he barely keeps up with the private side of Bruce Wayne, which makes a cool dynamic for Alfred to be in, which is played by Andy Serkis. And they do have some sort of distance. They do grow closer together in the movie, but in the beginning, they don't feel connected that much. And it's a really interesting idea to pull off with the Batman. It does feel like in the beginning, there is no one that he can depend on other than himself. Also, Zoe Kravitz and Jeffrey Wright both pull off their roles well. Catwoman is very good and a very unique romantic interest for Batman. And also James Gordon does feel very good in this universe. This might be my favorite version of James Gordon, even though it does feel like he's just going around the entire time going, Jesus, oh God, oh, this guy's hilarious. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. For circumstance, it makes sense for him to be doing that. Also, Colin Farrell's Penguin is also very good. He's very fun to follow, especially in the car chase. He's just fun to be around. And when we're first introduced to him, meeting Batman, he's all kind of like, hey, relax, sweetheart. Hey, what's going on? Hey, I want to say 50s style mob boss. And Paul Dano's Riddler performance is up there with Robert Pattinson. The idea that they do with this character is very cool. They make him this degenerate Redditor that is so precise in the people that he wants to kill. But I will say at the end, it just feels like his goal is to just kill everyone, which I don't think does the character justice, but Paul Dano is just having a fun time with this character. And when Batman comes to interrogate him at Arkham, and he starts taunting him by saying Bruce Wayne over and over again, slowly, we don't know if he knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne or anything, but he's just teasing him the entire time. So it's a very interesting concept. Also, his humor is enjoyable. The riddles are pretty fun. There's one with a thumb drive where he severed the mayor's thumb when he murdered him and put it on a keychain attached to a thumb drive in a car. Thumb drive. Stupid dad joke riddles, but you know, it didn't make me audibly laugh in the theater, but I mostly in my mind was just like, hey, that's a joke. Funny. And also, the Riddler has a very big impact on Batman. As untouchable as The Dark Knight is with Heath Ledger's Joker, as good as the Joker is, it doesn't feel like he impacts Batman that much compared to the Riddler, because the Riddler makes Batman rethink why Batman is Batman. And the idea that your villain is inspired by yourself can be really interesting, and it is very interesting in this movie. Now I'm going to get into the bad about this movie, which there's like 2 points, but it's fine. Number one, there's way too much plot armor in this movie. I think there's 3 or 4 instances when I was watching it where Batman should have died. There's a scene where he's flying down with his glider, or just like his wingsuit, and ejects his parachute, but then the parachute gets caught on a bridge. By the way, Batman, terrible time to eject your parachute, just so you know. And the momentum carries him to hit his head on the top of the bridge, or the underside, or whatever you want to call it. And then he just barrels down the streets of Gotham, which, by the way, he is a normal person. He should be dead, or at least unconscious. Also, there's a scene where a bomb blows up within like 3 inches of his face. And of course, I know that he blocks it with his arm. Just because you have bulletproof armor doesn't mean that bulletproof armor is going to be forced into your chest. And I get that he got knocked out and stuff, but like, come on, we at least have him back up a bit, you know? Like, just raising your arm isn't enough for me, at least. Also, there's a scene where he gets shot by a shotgun and it sends him flying back and knocks him out again, which, by the way, the guns are also another different story altogether, which actually now I'm going to talk about the guns. So if a gun has enough force to pick you up and throw you across the catwalk, that same force should be applied to the guy's shoulder that just shot the shotgun. And that guy's shoulder should be gone. It should not be existing anymore. Also, the opening scene, he gets shot with a snub-nosed revolver, and he's like, ugh, and he gets hit back a bit. And I'm like, oh, okay, so he has armor, but it has its limits. But then there is a very cool fight scene where he's walking down a hallway, and the only light is the muzzle flashes from the assault rifles going off. But he is completely unfazed by that and just beats him up. So the guns are kind of annoying, but you can look past it. And also, this movie is kind of way too long. Like, it kind of doesn't have a right being as long as it is, as compared to as much stuff is explained to you, which is kind of not a lot. Like, I get that they don't want to explain the backstory of Batman, which I 100% agree. I do not need to see the Wayne family die again with, you know, the pearls dropping and the gunshot and just the drama of the scene. I don't need to see that again, okay? I get it. The parents die, he's depressed. That's all we need to know, and we know that. But there are some things in this movie that aren't really explained. Like, Catwoman is able to get her phone back, and it has a call recording, even though she wasn't there to pick up the call and record it. So I don't really know how that worked, and they could have taken more time to explain how that worked. And there is what seems to be an octane stim that Batman just juices up with, and it's fine. That's not explained at all. The only reference I ever saw to that was there is a prequel novel, which, by the way, I shouldn't have to read a prequel novel to know what the octane stim is. The only thing that's brought up in that book is that he's interested in chemistry. That's it. But I do think Robert Pattinson looks very funny when he's just going bat crazy. And I'll assume it's some sort of adrenaline in the stim. I don't know. It was just, it kind of took me out of the movie for a second and made me think, where have I seen that before? And guess what? I saw this movie twice. You don't see it. It's not there. I would like to point out another thing that I liked, sidetrack. The Batmobile feels like an animal in this movie. And also you see him progress and build it. You don't see him actually, like, you know, hammer, nail, building it. You don't use a hammer and nail, wrench in building it. You see a layout of the parts, and you also see the engine in the background of a shot, or in the forefront of a shot. And it's like, hey, he's building that. And then when you see it, it's pretty good in the car chase. So yeah, The Batman. I have more stuff to say about it, but I'm going to keep this short. I think this movie is a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. There are some critiques I have about it, but overall, I think this is very good. And yeah, I highly recommend it to anyone who's tired of Marvel mediocre movies. So if you have any comments, or if you disagree with me, please argue in the comments section, except I won't be there because I don't go in the comments section because I'm an adult. Anyway, leave a like, subscribe, all that, and I will see you next time. Smile.